Hello, my name is Dylan Bowman, and the process that I'm talking about is the water cycle. What is it? It's a process that connects all of the water in the world. It can be joined in areas of oceans, land, and atmosphere. The cycle began 3.8 billion years ago when rain first fell, creating all the oceans that we have today, including the Atlantic, the Pacific, all of them. Sorry. The stages of the water cycle. The four stages of the water cycle are precipitation, collection, evaporation, and condensation, as you can see in this image I have right here. All four of these stages have distinct factors to the cycle, which make them as important as they are in their own ways. Precipitation. This is the first step of the water cycle. It forms in the clouds when water vapor is condensed into larger droplets. Once the water is large enough, it will cause it to precipitate from the sky. It comes in many forms: rain, snow, sleet, hail. Any form of water that's coming from the sky is known as precipitation. All forms of precipitation are fresh water. No matter if it is also water from the ocean, it becomes fresh once it's evaporated. The salt is removed. Water is still able to become contaminated though from pollutants in the air from the ground. If the water does become contaminated before it hits the ground, it's considered acid rain, and this is what we see mostly in power plant areas. Collection. This is the second step of the water cycle. It occurs once precipitation has come to a stop. Many ways collection can happen throughout different areas of the world. Most of the time, Earth soaks up the water from the ground and brings it in for the life on the ground. There's also something called water runoff. It occurs once water is coming down a mountain and moves into either a lake or an ocean, as this image is presented right here. Collection. The precipitation can also go into the sewers on the side of the road, which is another form of water runoff. Any type of water going into another system is known as collection. And most of it happens in the oceans, which cover over 70% of the earth, and it contains about 96.5% of the total water supply that we have today. Evaporation. This occurs after collection. It takes longer in terms of taking the water away. This concept of the cycle is when the state of matter is changing from liquid to a gas. The gas that water is evaporating is known as water vapor, and this step can occur in many different ways as it's needed for the cycle. It's usually shown on a hot day, on a hot summer day. The more heat there is, the quicker evaporation will occur. This is why on a hot day we tend to see water rising from our roads when we're driving. This step is also important for the ocean and the atmosphere. Evaporation accounts for over 90% of the moisture within our atmosphere. It also helps with fresh water production. When producing water vapor from the oceans, it takes the salt out of the water, and this allows it to condense cleanly into the clouds. Condensation. This is the part of the water cycle when water vapor turns back to a liquid water. This can happen either inside or outside, and it's one of the most vital parts of the cycle due to all it is able to do. This image shows what condensation tends to look like on a normal day. This can occur no matter if it's hot or cold outside. If it's cold to create condensation, it is called a dew point. This is what we see when it's damp outside in early morning. Condensation can also occur due to lots of humidity forming in the atmosphere. This usually happens after it rains on a hot day outside. The two main points of condensation are dew point and saturation. Dew point. This is the temperature at which condensation starts to occur. Temperatures can fall below this point at any time throughout the day, and this can also produce water droplets on the side of the bottles of water that we drink. Once warm air hits that cold surface, it condenses and reaches the dew point. Saturation. This occurs as more water vapor is being collected in the clouds. Once the clouds are fully saturated with water vapor, it condenses and becomes rain. Saturation also causes humidity, since the warmer environments hold more water vapor than the colder ones. Condensation cloud formation. There's 5 major steps. The warm air starts to rise after evaporation. This causes humidity to increase, air becomes saturated due to this, then water vapor condenses to all the small particles until millions of liquid water drops collect together and form a cloud. Why is the water cycle important? One major reason is due to the ecosystem across the world. It allows for plant life everywhere and for our lives. It regulates weather patterns, and most importantly, it is continuously circulating water to make sure it's always clean. And this is my works cited slide. Thank you for listening to my speech.